everything.
Pues buenos días a todos y todas los que estáis aquí presencialmente, pero también a los que nos estáis viendo en streaming, en directo o en diferido. Iniciamos esta Masterclass con el compositor Maierhof, que nos visita estos días en el Conservatorio Superior y en el Centro Etopía. Lo recordaré también al final, que esta tarde a las 7 en el Centro Etopía tenemos el concierto monográfico sobre sus obras a cargo de Pablo Mena y diferentes componentes que le acompañarán durante todo este concierto. Y ahora damos inicio a esta Masterclass en la que estaremos aproximadamente unas 3 horas con una posible pausa en medio. Ya se ocupará Mijael de organizarlo un poco de la manera más conveniente. Con lo cual, pues, bueno, la Masterclass será en inglés. Si alguno tenéis en algún momento alguna duda, podéis preguntar. Y bueno, como siempre, agradecimientos a Etopía, a Fuga, el programa de exploraciones sonoras, y al Conservatorio Superior, especialmente a los departamentos de composición y percusión, que, bueno, cuya confluencia ha hecho posible, ¿no?, esta difícil venida, ¿no?, de alguien desde Alemania, ¿no?, en estos tiempos. Y por supuesto también muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Michael, for being here. And so everything now belongs to you.
Thank you very much. So we have some time today, and I'm not prepared to make another lecture like yesterday. I want more like a talk with input from both sides. So just to know, maybe all the composers can raise hands, so I know how many composers are in one, two. And the others are interpreters. You are? Yes. And which instrument? Your violin?
Cello.
Cello. And you in the back?
Trumpet.
Trumpet? And
Tuba.
The tuba. So we have a range of... so maybe I should also... you also... What? Clarinet. Okay. And who was attending yesterday's lecture? So most of you. So any comments, questions, additionals, wishes? What we should dig deeper in? Yep. No. You know, it's kind of a strange situation, because it's kind of these kind of frontal, the dispositif we are here already fixed in is there's one who is saying something and there's the listeners on the other side. I want to try. Normally under normal conditions I would just make a kind of open group, like we all the same and we discuss our ideas. So I don't want to be in the role to say something, because I also want input from you, what you are interested in. And
feel free to move. I will arrange the camera, and also you to ask questions. I could just reach the microphone that the people at home can follow this. So just this is like a bit static in the arrangement because of the streaming, but we can deal with that and be more flexible.
Yeah, okay. So any further wishes, questions for yesterday?
Well, I have two questions. Well, one is, how do you do to have these crazy ideas, like the washer teeth in the, or see, it was a serendipity, or you were searching this way, and another question is...
Wait a minute. Can you just, because I didn't understand one word, this idea with the...
In your pieces, there is for me a very creative concept, like this piece in the piano with the
motors, with the...
How do you arrive to this idea because I think it's very creative, and I can't imagine in my mind other with the balloons, with the fire. This is. And another question is a little technical. This piece in the violin and the visual, the pop music, you have to pay something for the ¿cómo se llama? El SGAE. Los derechos de autor.
The rights. Copyright.
The rights of how it works. Only is curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's a 3-second free. It's different in every country, and the EU they are just rethinking and replanning the whole rights procedure for every country. So each country is different, and in Germany was till this month the 3 seconds, but there are some parts which are longer. But what I did is I kind of mixed. When I used more than 3 seconds, I mixed it in my own way so the search machine wouldn't find it. Because they have the search machines now, and even in the video, like this video I shot yesterday with Charles Bronson, it was on YouTube, and Warner Brothers wrote me, this is not allowed, and because you wouldn't have thought that because it's cut into pieces and it's turned, but they have face recognition also for film now. So they just recognize the face of Charles Bronson, and then it doesn't depend where how much you change the image. So it's really refined technology now to get the rights. So it'll change a lot because they are in Germany thinking now like having 12 seconds free, which of course for the musicians is terrible because in most of the pop music, the 12 seconds refrain is the most, most you would immediately refer to the song. So it's the heart of the song you always can, and they want to be free in it, like free quoting without rights. And there's a big protest now against this plan from the musicians, of course. So. It's also a bit of risk, and in Germany, I don't know how it's in Spain, but I talked to artists because in the visual art world, of course, people quote from existing material, as you see, like Douglas Gordon. He makes this. Maybe you know this artist. He's a British artist and living in Berlin. He made this 24 hours Hitchcock's Psycho version. Incredible good film. And the only thing he does is he stretches every frame, so it's frame by frame by frame, the whole film, the whole movie, and it's 24 hours. So he stretch it, so you see frame, a few seconds. I calculated. I think I forgot, maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Next frame. So he doesn't change anything from the Hitchcock. He just reduced the velocity, and he has no problem to show it worldwide. So in the art world, or quoting material is much easier, and there are so many artists who work with the found footage, with found material. And in Germany, that was what I was going to say. Is I talked about this problem with the movies with a lawyer, and he told me in Germany the right of the creative artist is always higher. The freedom of art is always higher when it comes to court situation than the rights from the owner. So if you change something, if you change nothing, then you have a problem, because it has to be clear it is an artistic approach. And of course, to make these vertical cuts and twist the sides, or how do you say, to mirror? It's more a mirror one part. It's clearly, and it's without sound. And of course, I cut the narrative, which I always liked to if I use the film. And I think without the sound, without language, without the context of the story, because you don't know the context, you only see the car chasing, and you see a scene with Charles Mason and the Swedish woman with a gun. He has the gun, and she is caring for him, and he's dying, but he has the gun. So that's all. But I think just for a quote, it's enough to take. Yeah. Okay. This from to the first question. As I said yesterday, it's more a question from both sides. It's to ask really basic question as an artist. So if I have to write for clarinet or for trumpet, or then I'm looking at this instrument kind of as free as possible from my side. And what is the ability of the instrument? How can I transform the instrument in a new direction? So this is like the basic question. I think sometimes I learned a lot from visual arts, because they are in a way much opener for changing perspectives than the music world. I think the music world in general, it's very slow and kind of, because it's so fixed to the classical production. And the art world, I mean, the most money is made with contemporary art. It's you know, the old art, there are only like limited amounts of works they can sell and resell, but the most money is made by the contemporary artist. Every day, you know, they are producing. So, and this is not the case at all in the music world. And I think we can learn when I teach students, I always say, especially for musicians, because they have so much time to spend in their cabins with the instrument, and it's really time consuming study. They have not so much time to make party on vernissage or go to museums, you know. And in the art world, it's more like you're there. Something, gallery is opening, a friend artist is opening. So they are coming, and they are connecting, and the musicians are in the music world. At least in Germany, I don't know how it's in Spain. They are kind of stick in their places. So what I tell students: go out, go to the theater, go to exhibitions, go to dance. Look what is the contemporary production, the contemporary aesthetics. Most of the ideas I really get from the visual arts, or from theater, or from reading books, from literature. It's so inspiring for me to always open up my trained classical traditional view. So this is very important. And I like a word from Godard, the filmmaker, maybe you know, from Switzerland. He once said, a chair for artists, concerning artists, a chair is not a chair. For artists, a chair is an object with millions of possibilities. And if you are like going to the theater, contemporary theater, especially the chair, you know, how many perspectives and uses of a chair on stage you can find. So and even you can make like music with it, like maybe you know the La Monte-Young chair. It's La Monte-Young, with the chairs in the skater. So he just moves the chairs. You know that piece? I think it's from, I heard it in Hamburg. He was a skater place, you know, with all the things, and there were maybe 15 people just making like this. Of course, the chairs were chosen for the right sound. Yeah. Too clean. I think maybe also Godard has this in mind, that just to take this example of a chair has something to do with his visual theater experiences. But what we can learn is that you can, as an artist, you are free. You're so free to look at things differently, and something is also what the audience expecting, that we change their perspective or change their perception. At least that's what art can do. So I try to look differently at what is the possibility of this object. Just call it object, not an instrument. Just call it object with sonoric qualities. And how can I approach this object with sonic results? And the next question is, or like a deeper approach is, what is the resonance quality of this object? You know, what is the quality of that resonance space? As we see the resonance space of a piano, the resonance space of a violin, or if you have objects. So what is the quality of the resonance space? Just like a basic question. And then the next question is, how do I activate this resonance space? Of course, if you have a trombone, you can blow in, which is typical. You activate it with the lips or with the breath. But I think there are several ways, and I also show if maybe some things for brass or for wind instruments. How I just use the instrument. So when you have this very general approach, what is the resonance space and how different ways to activate this resonance space? I mean, this is the most basic question. It's very simple. We want to do music. We need at least kind of sound, and we have an object which is resonating, and we have something to activate that resonance space. And at a certain point, I found that motors were quite good resonance activator for resonance spaces. The sonic motors, I mean, do you know the difference between sonic motors and mechanical motors?
I don't know what you mean with sonic.
It's the electromagnetic motor. You know, that's from physics. You have the magnet, you have the currency, and then the magnet turns something which is rotating. This is our normal classic electromotor. But there are, even from the 60s, like a Russian inventor, Lavrinov, or have somewhere the name, he invented that the piezoelectrical motor, which means there is no rotation anymore, no movable parts which can be broken or like used after time. It's only like two ceramics, different quality, put on each other, and then there is the currency going through the ceramics, and then it starts to vibrate because the ceramics are different. That's the piezoelectrical motor, and the good thing is it's no magnetism, so sometimes it's a problem if you have a magnet field around the motor. The thing is, they hold forever because they have no movable. You don't have to oil or something, or no movable part. And it was a very like a high-end motor system, so it's very, very expensive. And in the 60s, but I think I bought my first sonic toothbrush around 2005 or 6. So it's only that time, like 15, 20 years, you have these kind of motors in the consumer, very cheap consumer. Everything is produced in China, very cheap. Like you can order sonic motors for 5,000 motors for 100 euros or something. It's incredible. Like, and then but you have to build the handle and everything and make. But the motors itself, also the production is very simple. So you have this vibrating. It's only vibrating. And I think also it's not only the motor, but they developed, for the toothbrush, they developed this very, very micro hairs in the bristle, and they have to be very, very, very thin, and they transfer the vibration, and that's what the cleaning aspect, because they start to vibrate this very fine hairs. And I always wanted to know how many hairs are in a bristle, because sometimes also Pablo will play the motors tonight in a new piece which we premiere tonight with two sonic motors just on a plastic bottle, and I can tell you it's incredible what the result is. And it's also, we have to cut a little bit the bristles, for the we have to cut them, and when you cut them, maybe you also figured out there are so many you can hardly cut with a pair of scissors, because there's so many. How many you would say, like 2,000, 3,000 hairs? So it's incredible. I think it's also very microplastically problematic. So these are the motors. They vibrate, and if you put it on the piano strings, they transfer the vibration to the resonance space of the piano. So I was thinking, okay, I want to use this big grand piano resonance space, and then question, how do I activate, not like hitting keys differently? And of course, the inside piano, it's such a big thing since 20 years, or since Cage, since 70 years, but also the improv scene, so many people who are playing inside piano and make incredible things, which so many different materials. And because I was so focusing on this motor thing, that I just said, okay, I use the motors and a few objects. You saw maybe the cup, the plate of the cup and the cup itself. So that's all what's used in that. So first, thinking clearly about putting away all your own thinking about what an instrument is. First, you have to really clear your head. It's really, and I can tell you, it's not easy to clear your head. It's really a big part of energy it costs to look differently. But I can tell you also, it makes so much fun. It's so thrilling when you get to this point that my head is clear from tradition, from what you have seen, and if you look yourself differently to an object. Yeah. So this is the first step. The second step, then I start to play around. of course, a piece like that, it's not really conceptual. It's conceptual at the beginning. And then my working process is to play around with these things. And I play, and I like to play. I like to also to practice or to work on the sound for a long time. And then I record, I go back, I correct, and it's the same like making a picture. For me, I'm not a composer who is making in the process of creating a piece. It's not so much in my head. What's in the head is everything is before, to be clear, and for example to be clear about aesthetic things. I think this is also a conceptual need for me. But then at the moment when I'm playing around, if I have the setup, if I came to that point that I have the piano with a sonic brush, toothbrush, and then I play around, then the field is open. I try to be as open as possible for what happens. And the good thing is, you know, it happens always things you don't expect. Everybody knows that. And if you are clear enough to see that what's happening, you normally, of course, something is happening, but you're trying to focus on a different. You're trying to a certain sound, and you don't get that sound, but something else happens, and you know, if you stick to that sound, but you don't see what the side effect was, maybe much more interesting. So you have to shift the perspective to this side effect and then work on this. And so this leads me to the working process of a piece. Be open and be surprised by things happening. And I think this is a typical artist quality, that we can be so open that things surprises us where we are not looking for, or we were not expecting, or I think this is a thrilling thing. Maybe I stop with that. Yeah, you have another question? No? Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Maybe I show with the sonic motors, because I must say, if you are working with material which is not traditionally fully explored, you don't know, as I said yesterday, you don't know really how it works. And sometimes I really missed that I didn't study physics, you know. As a mathematician, I thought, oh, the physics world, you know, they are so incomplete and not really correct, and now I would say now I need more physics for understanding how it works. For example, I show you a guitar piece because I thought when I'm in Spain I should talk about the guitar, I had a commission from a duo. They just played Lachenmann's Salute for Caldwell for 2 guitars, and they were awarded, and they said, okay, now we have to commission other composers to show that it's going further on. And I said, no, 2 guitars after the Lachenmann piece, I have no idea. But then I started. As I told you, first I think it's possible, but at second thought is nothing is impossible. So just try out and play around. And I wrote then a piece with both kind of motors, the sonic motor, 2 sonic motors, and also like the traditional motors on the guitar. And the thing is, I mean, the starting piece was I wrote that piano piece, you know, with the strings moving in the grand piano, and then of course I had the guitar. It's so easy. Sometimes it's so easy, and the sonic motors are around, so I grabbed them, I put them under the string, and they made this incredible sound, you know, and they are vibrating on the string. and they create a bass quality which I didn't hear before from any instrument. With this small guitar, it was incredible. But the only thing I found out, only when they are moving itself, then they produce this sound. But if they are stable, it's not really. It's like. But if you move them, you're like really a low frequency. So this is something what I called schwingende Systeme, swing systems. So where you have two swinging processes interfering. For me it's a big question. Always looking for these swing systems to build really swing systems. And the guitar piece was one of like the aha. There's something has to set in motion to create interesting structures. What I think it's interesting. It's specific objects, 9 minutes, and maybe you know Donald Judd. Somebody know the artist of Donald Judd? For me, very important. A minimal artist from America.
I think we show some things in the analysis class when we talk about minimalism.
He made this, maybe in the museum, he made these boxes out of ceramics with very, very technical, and he put it on the walls, just next to each other, and the ceramics are colored. And what he produces is it's normal rectangular boxes, but he produces colored shadows with it. It's incredible. So the setup is very, very clean, technical. He doesn't produce with his hands. He always gives it to a manufacturer. So he's an artist which not producing himself. And in the 60s, he was initiated by, I think, a gallerist around Clase Oldenburg in New York, and to just reflect a little bit on the contemporary arts. And he wrote in 63 this article, Specific Objects. Fantastic. It was just like a project to say, just write about the contemporary art scene, what you see. And what he did is, for me, it was really a manifesto of still contemporary art approach. Because what he said is, because that in America you had all this big painting history with the abstract expressionism, and which was so de Kooning, and it was such a big thing, the expressionistic thing. And the minimalists, they had really to fight against this kind of expressionism. And they were at that point, they were the outsiders, like Donald Judd and these kind of people. And he wrote, for example, this like a manifest you could read today as a manifest. It was not meant to be a manifest, but he said, artists, don't paint anymore. Go to the bricolage, to the brico Bauhaus thing, buy things, let produce. We have industries, we have sorry, we have a good handcraftship, so you don't need to do things on your own. You make really clear concepts, and then it's not a question of making yourself. This, and I have this maybe I have this I like this article so much that I made a series of pieces, specific objects, because of course objects is a big thing in my work. So I have instruments and I have objects, both with sonic qualities, and it's kind of a space and time title thing, which I like, because normally so I have specific objects 11 minutes, I have specific objects 8 minutes, so the counter, the index is only the minutes. In the music world, if I write to organizers my text about the piece, it's only specific objects. They are not used that the time thing, the time quality is part of the title. So they had but I like that. That's a kind of they are not used to combine by both. But title is another very important thing for me. Maybe we can also talk about titles of a piece. Really interesting, really interesting. So, 2 guitars, I think it's an excerpt from the beginning. That's the beginning. I skip to the next part. No, this is the setup. These are the sonic motors. These are the normal Oral-B mechanical motor. And you see the sticks. And also for how getting ideas, I think language is, of course, thinking is combined with language, but sometimes it's good to formulate your wishes or your needs. So, for example, if you work with material like this, at a certain point I thought, you know, and how would it be to have an amplified stick? You know, you have the sticks but you always need a drum to hit, you know. But how would it be if the stick itself amplifies? And the plastic cup with this stick is, I call it M-stick. It's really an amplifying stick. I didn't bring one, but do we have it tonight? No, we don't have a stick.
Yeah.
No, I mean in 24 we don't have the stick.
I have one.
Yeah.
With nylon top.
Yeah, but not on the underground. But I show something. So to formulate what would be like an utopia idea? What would you like to have? And just to put that in language, you know, what would optimum of your needs? And then I had this idea, of an amplifying stick or things which are at the same time activator and amplifier. You know, if you always think about resonance spaces and activators, and then you go one step further. And they're really loud. So you don't need to amplify that piece. It's really loud. And of course, I must say the guitar itself is a fantastic instrument. It's really fantastic because the string sound is so poor, so kind of low volume. You have to have a really good resonance space to project it into space. And these are guitars from 50 euros. So they're really resonating. So I use a lot just the resonance space of a guitar without strings. It's a really good cheap way to to grab things, to grab a good resonance space. And as I told you, it's really loud piece. Also, it's not amplified. You have these two sticks under the string, and everything is like moving, as you see. And I like this kind of everything is in motion. Oh, I have low battery. Maybe. I go. Is this on?
I don't know.
Maybe I go here, huh?
Or just there, yeah.
Yeah. So they are put under the strings, and also the guitar is a perfect what I call swing system. Because if you put something under one string and this string is moving, then it goes also, it activates also the other strings. So the strings itself, if you put things under, they are like so flexible that they are activating each other, which is a swing system. In physics, you know that swing system idea? I don't know if I have it here. I don't know what's the Spanish word, swing de system.
It's probably like sistemas oscilantes or algo así.
In physics, maybe every school kid, you have a line, and then you have two pendulums with a weight. And you start to move one pendulum, and the line transfers it to the other, and this starts till this stops, maximum, and when this got slower, this starts again. So it makes like this. So this is a movement with two qualities. Either they are interacting each other, and the other thing is it's kind of a perpetuum mobile for a little while. So it's a process which keeps kind of going on for longer than you would only have one process. So this is swing de system. I like it also because the idea of swing de system, I think it's also bound back to electronics from the thinking. You know, I think like this interfering system, like synthesis idea, you know, from the waves synthesizers, this idea of synthesizing sinus waves and creating by these synthesis new possibilities. I think this is really an idea which comes from electronics, and you know, if you don't use the pitch anymore on the guitar, you have to find other systems of producing sound processes, and the swing de system for me is one of the possibilities. Score. Of course, you have to write this, and I'm really very being very precise with the notation. So this is a video score, which means it's a time-based score, which means the bar lines have different function. Normally we have the bar line, and then after the bar line there's the note. So, but there's a little white space. But if you have a time-based score, the bar lines is the one. You know, when the bar lines is, then this is the one, and not a little bit behind. So that's the reason why I put the square here. The squares. Heads of the note. So that's clear, it's not round, so it's very clear when it hits the line of it starts. Just let it run for a second. Runs it? Yeah. Oh, it's that bad quality. I can't really see it. It's a pixel world only. Yeah. Can you see anything? Oh, well, even with distance.
I'm going to show like more pictures like that because if it work that I try to adjust the resolution of the.
Manson, you mean that makes a difference?
I don't know if you are going to show more like that. I can try.
If you're interested in scores, I just did to the next one. This is a close up, for example. Maybe you see. So for the guitar strings, it's clear. So if I play the E string, of course I use traditional notation with a like a square, bracket. And here this is the actions, with the squared heads. And I just with the gray and white, you can easily make clear that this is a new bar. I don't think in bars anymore anyway, but for structuring, for the musicians, always good to have this bar thing. So this here. Of course, the notation gets a big problem if you don't use the pitch as main material anymore, because in the pitch world, we have this very, very refined system of the 5 lines, and you can project almost everything in these 5 lines. This is really perfect. But if you go to sound complex world, you have to invent new lines, new graphics, new systems for notation. Most of them, of course, is active notation, action notation of the action, not the result. And therefore, to get the result, I started to use the demo. Each sound has this demo thing there, so the musicians can listen to the sound. They see this note, they see the action, and for the result, they get the sound file. So it was a kind of start of multimedia score. I got further with that, but from very early point, I used the sound demos in the scores for a reference. And today, I mean, you're all young, so you don't know how it was in the 90s. You went to a rehearsal space in the 90s. There was, for clear, no audio device. So if you brought a CD, nobody could play a CD. You couldn't bring anything. It was an act to organize. Maybe at home, they can listen to their hi-fi, but during rehearsal, it's not possible. Today, or since the phones, everything, it's easily, they even brought their, headphones. Everybody has his headphones. So just checking, and they can check immediately in the rehearsal. This sounds like this. Very simple, no setup. Everybody has the whole audio world with them. So use that as a composer. What the musicians have anyway as their technical devices in a rehearsal situation. It's most in German. This is something about the just to compromise new graphical ideas and time-based media. We are so used now to have time-based media. Why don't we integrate scores in that field of time-based media? The black and white score, I think it's a very, very 19th century, not even 20 anymore. but we are so used to have this. You know, when I just moved to my new house, and I found all this, how do you say, Notenpapier, the you can buy with the staffs, like masses, and I knew it was so expensive, and I had like several like piles of different. And I said, yeah, before we hadn't the computer, and now it's so makes no really sense for me to use this. Very, you know, like everything is, you have for orchestral, you have like the 2 lines, you have the solo lines. It was like a look in another world, you know. Shit, yeah, that was like in the 90s. That was your material, and now with the layout programs, you can make, you know, whatever you want for every piece. So it's you, and we have the video possibility. We have. Of course, we have the Bluetooth pedal and the iPad, and honestly, I'm sure that in a few years, nobody has a printer anymore. And printing out, I don't know. It's everything gets, of course, digital, and printing out maybe also of ecological reason is not possible anymore. So we anyway will have as a regular situation, we have pads, computers for scores, of course, and then we can use all the possibilities of a computer and a pad, which is all time-based, which is animation, which is implemented musical material, implemented film material. So we have to really rethink the notation and score based on our media situation today. Yeah, and the function, just a general as you like, I like to think in a general way, general questions, asking what is the function of a musical notation. And I would say, of course, it's the temporal quality into the visual field. And why is that so important to visualize? It's important because our brain is trained to refer to visualized objects. It's much easier, you know, for our language and for our brain. For example, maybe you did also analysis, you know, it's so easy to analyze music with a score compared analyze a piece of an improviser. It's so hard. I mean, it's really, really hard to analyze without any time indication, without any material indication. And it's because I'm also an improviser, and, you know, in sessions we play and then we try to talk about what we did. And we just played it, and it's so hard to refer to something where we are equal on the same spot, in the same sound, in the same period. And in the score I can say, here, you know, this part, this I don't like, or this is interesting, or this is wrong, this is, you know, you can point to it. Insofar, the visualization is a function. It's not the only way to create music, of course. I think there are several ways to create music, but for a certain kind of music, the visualization is very good for all these qualities of analysis, of talking about, also of creating music history. I think also, I don't know how you think, Alberto, that this incredible revolution which took place in the 90s with the free music scene developed all over the world with the improv and the electronics, they created really a counterworld to the academic music production, but they have no place in music history. For me, it was much more interesting than most of the pieces were composed at that time. So what it's in the club scene, in the scene of this kind of electronics, and it was worldwide. I was traveling, I'm making also concerts, curating concerts, people coming from all over the world, and they immediately can play together, and it's a language, it's a whole scene. But the music history really doesn't reflect anything of that. And I think also one reason is that they don't have scores, they don't have the reference in academic world to that. Of course, there were a counter academic movement, because it was club scene, it was like not stately funded, it was like everybody just played because they liked this music, they liked to play. They were not paid, or paid only by dorm money, so no reason to do it except you just want to do it. And what I really appreciated at that point, that you know, sometimes in the academic world, I think, who really needs this music? Who needs this kind of music? Who wants to make this music? Sometimes I'm really doubting. And in this scene of this improv and electronic world, it was clear it was a total need of the people. It was a need, because there was no reason to do it, no reason of career, of money, of something. They had the need to do this music, and they created a scene for this music, and I think this is incredible. And as we know from history, like these counter movements, sometimes they become really like the center. Most time they become near. They were, like I told you, we had this American abstract expressionism. Then the minimalist was the counter movement, and you know, in the 60s nobody wanted de Kooning anymore, and all this expressionistic painting. So the new stars in the galleries in New York scene were the minimalists, of course, because they represented the new 60s feeling, this technology, this clear utopian feeling. So we have this history is that counter movements, they became the main movements. But in this case, with the noise and improv scene, I don't see it yet. I see slight acceptance, like in Donaueschingen or in Darmstadt. Now they invite also improvisers, and like Japanese electronic scenes or Korean electronic scene. But mostly light program, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, not the main. But maybe we have to wait another 20 years, and you, because you are the next generation, you change things. You have to change things. Also with your ideas, with your what next generation also always defines what's cool, what's going on, what's needed. So about scores problem, and of course I like to write precise scores because it makes me thinking more precise. I like a clear layout, a really clear layout. I work a lot of the in the layout field, as you could see. Maybe I show more. This was, yeah. Just for example, next example is how I use the space notation to create complexity or complex rhythms. You see the two lines. So this is the line where with left hand they have to make the 16. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And now they have, with the other hand, they have to hit the motor in the black passages. So it's a very like complex. So if you want to write this in musical time notation with triplets and quintuplets and with pauses, you get a funny house score. And it's so easy with this with this cursor, of course, but also with the time notation. Even without with a click, you could do it very easy. This complex notation, complex rhythm, and also like to, because the people have to work on the sound so much that I try to make it easy for the performer. First, I explored the material that it's kind of they can handle it. I try to make a score that it's very intuitive, that they don't have to think or read like 5 pages of explanations to get an idea what they have to do. My perfect wish would be, and sometimes I get it done, no introduction at all. Just you make your page, the first page, and you immediately see what you have to do from the visual aspects. This is my would be the best thing, just to get everything so clear, that's so intuitive and suggestive, and you even like a non-trained musician can do a complex rhythm like that. And also for education, I think, for working with non-educated professional musicians, you can produce with this score system very easy, really complex things. So, and it's so easy to create with now with our technology. And what I also like is with the graphic programs, sometimes, you know, it's the developments of technology is on so many levels, because if you have paper and you make these kind of rhythms, it's so hard to make a difference between a very thin and a little bit thicker, because you have the pin, you know, and the how do you say, the Bleistift, the pencil, yeah, because the pencil is the biggest time frame then, and you know, as you see with the layout, you have every option. It's much more refined than a pencil. So the thing is, technology creates, of course, possibilities. Which I love that, to see that these score I could not do with a pencil, or, you know, I can't make these fine lines. And of course with the gray fields, how do you do a gray field on a, you know, you're like making this, or and with the computer you can have like every percentage, like 30%, 25, 28, you can try out how much you need, you know. I think this kind of score is not possible on paper, which tells me that technology is what we need for today for notation. I'm talking too much, maybe. Maybe you talk now. Some questions or some ideas.
No, only a crazy thing I saw yesterday for the balloons. When you release these methods to the balloon pilots, no?
Yeah.
To the fire, no? It reminds me like the Guitar Hero, no? Something, but a balloon Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Was a funny idea, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Michel,
Yeah.
you say that you can play your pieces, no? You try your song. Yeah. What are you looking for when you send a piece to performer, like me, for example?
What I'm looking for?
Yeah. Do you prefer that the performer get the same sounds like you, or do you prefer Paul's version, Roberto Maqueda's version, Fanny Johnny's version?
Yeah, it's hard to define exactly, because there is a limit where I would say Well, I would correct you, of course. Where I said, no, this is not the sound. What we did yesterday, where the sound is like slightly shifted in another way, and when it's the right shift, you immediately understand, and you have no question anymore. Like yesterday, you know, when you made the sound on the sonen piece, and I said, no, you have this to have more pressure, and it's tick, 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 and it's immediately clear. So this is on the technical level. So I would say this, I would prefer, of course, to have the sound. But also the material, of course, it's always a bit different. Like from the underground, the plexiglass, as he is playing a piece for percussion on plexiglass structures, and they are slightly different. But this is the way how it is. So, and I learn also from I love to learn from the ideas of the performers. What I perform my pieces. I wouldn't never perform one of my percussion pieces, I must say. I try to play them, but also always in the studio. For me, in the studio version. Like yesterday, the piano piece. It was, I played it I think 2 times in a concert, but this was just a studio demo for another pianist to demonstrate. I like to play, but performing is a different thing. And for example, you will see tonight how complex the body movements are, which he has to make, like 8 to 5, 7 to 6, you know, and percussion player, he is used to have these multi-rhythms procedures, and I never could do it. I can do it when I rehearse. So after 5 minutes, I have to play, you know, and then maybe I can you know, make here the 5 and here the 4, but on stage to be like, no, I couldn't do that. So I need really the performers, and good performers. Like Pablo is, I can really recommend to go to this concert because it's really great. You can feel and I love to look at performers who are totally physically clear about what they are doing, and the body language is for me very, very important for enjoying a performance. That means, for example, tension, but not an overkill, you know, not like, but also not too relaxed. That it's, and for example, in my pieces, like the movements, like especially for you will see tonight, he makes a conducting solo with conducting figures sounding on a plexiglass. The visual aspect is so important in my music, and I like that also, that the people, the audience, can connect their visual body experiences because they look at bodies like we look at dancers. They make movements and they can enjoy also the movements, maybe even the sound they don't like. Or for example, it's a very long piece, Splitting 12 for conductor. It's quite long for also for the sound wise, and it's not so, the variation is not so big. It's really restricted, but I like this kind of spröde, I don't know, you know what is in Spanish? Spröde? Sprödigkeit? Maybe we talked about, I always have in English this problem, because it's also where I talked with Schwalinger about that if something is too easy to consume, that's the contrary of spröde. But it's spröde, like it comes from the hair. If it's too dry, then you would say in German du hast spröde Haare, das Haar wird spröde. It's kind of like splitting hair. And in the aesthetic world, spröde means it has a certain gesture like this. It's not like inviting you directly to listen, to feel free, to relax, but it has something where you have to be active as a listener. And if you don't be active, it can be also really annoying. So this is kind of also what I like. And I talked a lot with Sparling about spröde Musik, that music that he also likes something has a kind of resistance, and it has like something which is makes look like hugs, but something. What?
Grima, it's like a word in Spanish to say something that is like you don't really want to touch it or to.
Yeah. Questions? No? Everything's so clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
For your notation, these black and white lines, I think that maybe for ensemble, it's not precise. Maybe we have a little bit of freedom. In Sonen 4.4, we have a pizzicato with this, and maybe I prefer I don't know if it's 16 4/16.
Yeah.
I heard and the key that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The good thing is with this notation, it has both. It has, you could do it precisely, but it suggests also if you don't do it precisely, it's not a big deal. So sometimes when you're so engaged with producing a sound, it gives you a bit freedom not to be so precise, but more preparing the sound. You know what I mean? So it means that not everything is about being on time, but having the sound is more important, and the timing is second. So it's just that I know what you mean, but it's yeah, we have as a composers in the notation, if we can make and offer choices, I think it's a good thing. Also that non-so trained people can produce this complexity, as I told you. But I put one part in the guitar piece, I don't know if I find it, where they have to play unison with this complicated black and white thing, and it was quite together. So even a like ba, so they had to hit in unison, and I thought I try it out. Maybe I want to learn how they can do it, and it was quite good. And I'm sure if I would have written our musical time notation with triplet 16s, maybe it would not have been better, because we know to be precisely on and off together in an ensemble, it's high-end ability. High-end. That's really, if you don't choose only the one and like the full beats, but if you go besides the beats, then it's really a challenge. I didn't bring it now. Also about visualization. We were talking yesterday about the in tono ramori with the handles, and my idea with a percussive cut to to make it longer, to just make it stretch it in time, I created like a percussion idea and a percussion approach. And maybe it's the same, and Alberto, I think he told about, in the pitch world, you have the pitch organization, and if you go away from that, you enter up in a new world, which I call the sound complexes. And in the percussion world, it's a parallel. The hit is kind of the traditional material on different materials, but the hit is and we have a few. We have the brush, and we have the tom-tom, and we have some developed. But I wanted to go further in the rethinking of percussion. And I think the circling on a surface like this to create rhythms is it's a kind of, for me, an alternative project or an alternative way to treat percussion today. And my general thinking about, I discussed that with Hakon Stene in Valdepeñas. Also, my general approach when I think about percussion, generally speaking, I think, okay, they have all this hit things, this point events, and for me it's like really pre-industrial world, acoustic world. And like if you read the 19th century French literature, like how Paris sounded, like in Balzac or so, you had the for the horses, the buck, you have the horses on the streets, you have all the hammers, you have, everything was without machines. You are in this point world, single impulses. In the point, at the moment when machines come in, like circular systems, then we are leaving this world. So just like a little bit ironically speaking, the percussion hit is pre-industrial, and the circling structure is at least industrial, and even the sound. We have my computer was there in the 90s. They were so loud that I always heard the ventilator and the hard drive. Jing, jing, jing. So I was all day surrounded by this. Jing, jing, jing. And funny enough, that yesterday in the piano piece, I heard my computer, my old Mac, and I immediately remember it was 15 years ago. It was this big Macs where this really big Macs who had this ventilator, and it was really loud. So even in the world of computer, we are surrounded by circular ventilation or hard drive systems. But I'm really curious in the world of SDD. Maybe we need ventilators, but they'll find solutions. Maybe also our everyday life desktop situation will be more silent, and outside it's more silent because we have these electric cars everywhere. Maybe we have reduction of light traffic in the air. So maybe we are going to have a much more silent future than we are used to. So maybe this percussion idea is only an intersection, an interplay for our needs, what percussion has to be. Maybe as we talked yesterday, maybe it's about more silence, more really soft silence, or nothing, or I don't know. So we are curious where the journey is taking us. I showed this piece, splitting 91 for percussion. we were yesterday talking about the shopping in the rehearsal about with the balloons, with the physicality. And I must say, maybe you recognized, you know, when he was making the circles, and he was so quick, and you said, okay, it's so quick, and he's going on even quicker, and it's quicker, and you said, I never could do that. Did you recognize this? Where it's like it's over the top. I mean, this is means a technical facility, and I think it transmits also this energy as a look of a watcher, as a viewer. You immediately understand from your physical experience what it takes, what kind of energy it takes when you look at. So this is what I like, you know, and this is so a specialist body facility I don't have. I never could do it like that. Or even the rhythms, then with the eights, mostly he plays circles, but sometimes he plays also eights. And clearly it's about rhythm. You can hear it as rhythm, but you can hear it also differently as a structured noise thing. But what I always like is that, or the other way around, you know, when you are in the in the world of sound complexes, I think the most interesting thing is the relations inside and the tonal music and the whole pitch music. It's always external relations. That means, you know, this ba-dee, that's the message. The ba is not the message. I mean, it's the change, the relation from ba-dee, which I always thought was wrong. There was something wrong. You know, they talk about the C to D, but they don't talk about the C. And for example, for me, a C2, for example, on a cello, or the C2 of a soprano, or the C2 of a clarinet, is so much different than a C1 on these different instruments. So the quality of this, of the you know, the singular quality of the C, nobody speaks about, because it's so much easier to analyze relations. And qualities, we don't have really language about qualities. It's really, I thought a lot about this, how do we reactivate language for describing noises? And for example, there's in Germany we have this Grimm's Wörterbuch. That it's a very historical book which gathers all meanings of words. And for example, I checked there, and one of the word, because it's 19th century, one of the word with the most meanings was rumpeln. I mean, it's a word which nobody uses anymore, because rumpeln, which means like go 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 go, you are in a coach, in a horse coach, and you have the streets with the stones, and it you know, because now every, like the trains, everything, the cars, everything has to be smooth, you know, that's the thing. So we don't have, and even I would say, if I ask a person in Germany what is rumpeln, they even wouldn't know the word. But in this Grimm Wörterbuch, 32 meanings of rumpeln, which I don't understand anymore, all the differences. So there was a language about sound and also about nature, which we lost. For example, which is really interesting, in the critic of the balloon piece, Shopping 4 on the balloons, one critic wrote, let me think. The balloon players are what does a chicken do? Like a male chicken, like yeah. So she was writing, and it was not at all. So she not at all. It was more a screaming, squeezing, squeaking sound, but she used a totally different reference. So it wasn't. And for example, schnarren, scharren. So there are some words like scharren when the how say the dogs or also the chicken. That's scharren, schnarren. So that we have words for noise, but we lost the feeling of using them, describing them, because the nature is so far away. Who talks about chicken every days? Like in the, but everybody had chicken, so they had to talk about the chicken, what it's ill, but because it doesn't schar anymore, I don't know. So there was a language, but it's kind of gone. That's about the quality, but yeah, it's like a bit of a side talk. My notation system. Yeah, you can easily, of course, map the underground with a gaffer, and then you draw in the figures. It's also very easy for composers now, to write a score with the visualized graphics. For example, exactly. I mean, I used the musical notation, one circle. Maybe I go back here. For example, here's one. You have the circle, and you have this anchor point. So if there is written a quarter note, you make ba 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 ba, one circle, and you hit the anchor point exactly in the time of the beat, full beat. 16th note would be ba 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 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So you can use the musical notation, and it's getting like the score. That was the part you saw. With the circle going slow, both. Bigger, moving to the 8, smaller, one big, one small, one moving to that section, like this. And you see this arrow is the direction of the circle. Move there, move there. So you see the score looks really simple, really simple. And but the rhythm, the result is really complex. And this is also what I like I'm not the one who produce complexity. I build the setup, and I find a system, and then complexity produces kind of itself. You know what I mean? It's if I would write everything like with the rhythms in the barcode system out, I would say the complexity has to be created only by the musician with really sweating hard work, reading and counting. And with this, the complexity is already there visually. You see immediately what's about, and he can easily. It kind of produces itself. I don't know if you agree, but as a composer, I always like when I'm the one who is clear about a setup, and then so the main work is of course building the instrument and the setup, then of the conceptual clearness, and then the result looks very simple. I like it. Doesn't look looking complicated in a way is not a feature I'm interested in. You know, making like fancy scores with a lot of signs and pretending to be really complex in, you know. So therefore I only won one competition because my scores just didn't really match to the aesthetics of contemporary scores. And it was only Nikolaus Huber who was in the jury, and he kind of liked the piece, and he was really like against the other jurors said this is the one who gets the prize. So that's the only composition prize major with these but this is if you go counter academic principles, you have problems, that's clear. First,
just a question, were you thinking of having in mind a turntable when you started this piece?
a turntable.
Yeah, because it reminds me like these movements, and also there are like a couple of pieces or installations with like modified discs with scratches and etc. And it's like a movement that is creating a rhythm through this circular movement.
Yeah, I think it's the same idea, just vice versa. They move the head and no, they move the disc with preparations, and I move the head.
Yeah.
Like yeah. And obviously, what I always like then is to be also part of a reference that I'm not the only one. Some people think, oh, I have to be so unique that I'm the only one. I'm always looking for people who working in the same direction with different approaches, so I don't feel I'm the only one. So for me, I don't want to be the only one. I don't want to be part of something. And even if it's not academic, if it's in the music world, in the underground or in the club scene, just I look for partners, really partners, where I'm looking what are they doing, what is my work, and of course there's the same ideas producing kind of these sound complexes. Many people, and as we heard yesterday also, like 100 years, it's nothing really new. But new is in a category which doesn't really interest me at all. Because many people say, oh, your pieces are so new, or it's so, I haven't heard that, and then it's really new music. And I said, no, new, for me, new is a capitalistic, wrong word, which means nothing is new, because it's always context bound, but they want to think as that's new. But it's always the same with a little extra, and sometimes the disadvantages are much bigger than the advantages, but it's new, it's something new. So they want to sell the new thing, and if you're thinking in contextual ideas, new is not a category anymore, like history, like 200 years ago, like cultural transports, we think about in the Western world, the kind of noise is new, but I'm sure you'll find in any, you'll find several examples where things happened before. So new is nothing which, not a category which counts anymore for me. Trying more to thinking in contexts. In a certain context, I'm aware it's kind of special in a certain context, but you can shift context, and I like to shift context always to look from how would a person perceive this piece. For example, splitting 24, how would a choreographer or a dancer would perceive this piece? Who is like secondary interested in sound, but primarily in the body language. What would he talk? What would he perceive in the movements. And he would say, yeah, this kind of movement, yeah, we did after Pina Bausch and I don't know, the case marker, we worked a lot with circular movements and aids and yeah. I said, yeah, fine. I wouldn't say, oh shit, I failed because somebody has done it before. No, I would say, great, show me. So looking for partners to back up your work was always very important for me. That means finding the context in your. Maybe we should make a pause or questions or.
You decide. I mean,
it's really.
It's 12. I don't know. Maybe like a break, short break, and then we make like an hour longer or something like that.
Okay.
Is it a good point? We make like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, okay. Okay. Ok, pues si quienes nos estáis siguiendo por streaming, si no habéis escuchado, haremos una pausa de 15 minutos y retomamos a las 12:30.
Bueno, pues vamos a reanudar. No sé si hay gente que ahora se sumará también. No sé si tenéis como alguna sugerencia o if they want to propose to go in one or other direction. Luego, bueno, también podemos abrir turno como de preguntas así cómodamente, pero si tenéis como alguna sugerencia de lo que estamos viendo, algo que os pueda interesar más, pues adelante. Or if not, maybe you can just continue and like leave a time at the end to try to engage you more. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe can you explain the names of your pieces? The names?
Announce. Yeah. Which one you missed?
Or why splitting, why sonnet, why...
Ah, the titles.
The title, yeah.
Ah, okay. I told you a little bit about specific objects with the Donald Judd background. What I like is when I choose titles that they are productive. That's also a question. What is the function of a title? To what exactly has the title refer to? What, is it for the audience to get an association, or is it just for the rights that you can say this is the piece with that and this is to label a piece, or is it for yourself? And I decided in a way to use titles which make me open, or which produce own energy. Like an utopian, that a title produces a piece. Like, it's crazy, but why not? And for example, now the cello player is not there, but I started splitting one. There. I started a double bass piece which was called Splitting, just Splitting. And it was really not a good piece. It was, I don't know, I hired a double bass, I played around, the piece is really not played anymore, and I don't like it in a way. Then I got this grant in Paris, and I took my cello to write a piece for cello solo, for me also. And I thought about, okay, maybe this is the splitting I'm looking for. Not the double bass was not really the sound idea to split a pitch. That was the idea in the double bass with clothespins. Put clothespins on the string, and then you have the multiphonics with a bow. Then I had the cello idea also with the clothespins and have this sound. I would have brought, maybe I check if it's in the internet. Do we have internet connection?
Yes.
Okay, I'll check. And then I said, yeah, this is my real splitting, but I wanted to didn't give up the whole piece, the double bass. Okay, then I call this splitting 1, and this is splitting 2. And then just by giving the numbers, there was suddenly a series. I didn't expect, I was not at all a plan. And then, of course, the idea created, it's for solo instruments, and splitting is the idea of splitting a pitch with different procedures, like using pitch instruments, like string instruments, wind instruments, splitting the pitch as a main idea. And then it came to me like from nothing, but when I called my cello piece Splitting 2, I knew that has the whole potential of a series. And now I'm splitting 66. I had I'm many solo pieces. So this is the way the splitting itself became also a label. You know, last week there was a timpani player from Zurich, from the orchestra. He said, I want to have a splitting for timpani, please, you know. And suddenly the splitting thing, it becomes a label, which was kind of shocking for me, because it's you know, you have splitting for oboe and for, you know, for all the instruments, for harp even, you know, all this crazy bassoon. But I'm a timpani player in the orchestra, and I want to have a splitting for timpani. So it had kind of creates its own life and even its own commissions. And so it's at a certain point, of course, there is this idea splitting. It has something to do with the idea behind all the sound processes, of course, and it's also this kind of self-creating series. Specific objects, of course, the series is clear. Then I have the Zonen piece, and you know, sometimes I have I had a commission from Türmchen Ensemble from Carola Baukold and Johannes Walter at that time in Cologne, and I wrote that piece Grauzonen, gray zones. But I didn't like really the piece and the title, and I was like, it was like too, Grauzone was like, something I didn't like afterwards. But the Zonen I liked because there were like zones, which means that music is consisting of zones, which implicate also pauses, non-zones, because you have zones of sound, but that implicates that you have something without, so different. So it's not, it's more like this idea. And it's in fact connected to nylon strings, more or less. Every Zonen piece is then with the nylon strings. You will hear tonight, when you're coming, a piece with the nylon strings and plastic cups. And I can tell you, in that reverb space in the Ethiopia, it's fantastic. It sounds like hell. It sounds like I think I will never hear a situation like that if they play good. I don't know. Like acoustically, you were there yesterday. It was, I mean, very simple plastic cups and nylon strings. That's it, and it fills whole space, right? You were there. So all these pieces with nylon strings are called Zonen. At a certain point, what do I have a series called Schwingende Systeme, swing systems, of course, more bigger ensemble pieces, or also like piano duo. So something has to be in the title which makes me, which produces, like, you know, if you have a series, there is this kind of self-producing thing. And like I told you about splitting, if you don't, if the title not produce the thing, the label splitting produces itself. So people want to have splittings, which is yeah, strange. I come to another percussion piece recently where I composed with lights. Yesterday in the talk I talked a little bit about composing with no sound, but transferring musical ideas to a no sound area, which is, I think, really great, and especially while we have the need of non-sound, no input, no acoustic input, to be clear. But yeah, this is splitting 41 for percussion and lights, LED lights. He has 2 LED lights, which you will see also in the piece Zonen tonight. But there are 16 of them. They have to play with the 16 light in the plastic cups. And he has only the 2 ones. Has motors to activate a frame drum, plexiglass. Like he activates different objects with the motors. And the good thing is with the motors, because they are running themselves, he has free hands for the light layer. So he can make light rhythms, and there's sound going on. Makes a difference? Better or? I didn't because it's a rough cut from different parts of. I didn't cut the silent parts. I don't know. Now the subject would be more the silent parts. Yeah, you could see that, you know, with the rhythms, very complex. And I think this is only a thing musicians can produce, because so complex rhythms with a yeah, I mean, you could of course program it, but like a light person in the theater would not have the idea of this irregular, complex rhythm changes. So it's a really musical idea. So this is kind of the score. You saw the last, for example, the last sound with the blech, with a sheet of metal. And he just bend it, and the motor is activating. And for example, that's you know, the pitch thing on the, so dee da dee da da dee da dee da da dee dee da. So he could really, like a synthesizer movement, just with the hand just show. And then you see here's the light layer, left hand, right hand, and there's the last section you saw on in the video. D, like left, right, left, left, right, left, D. So it's also very easy to notate it. and you could see how quick the changes were with the front light and the top light. Different lengths, yeah, the ending. There are some passages tonight in the Zonen piece for the 4 percussion player where it's only like light rhythm and no sound also. And also, like what I was speaking yesterday, to take a material seriously, even if it's non-sound, to musicalize it, it has to be. Oh, it's my approach that I use all the skills we have as musicians to structure time. Therefore, the precise notation. I mean, you could write a verbal score, say once in a while, right and left hand, shorter and longer ones. Maybe some pauses in between. You could indicate like a verbal score. Of course, you can do that. But for me, I have more fun to find out what's for me more interesting. So that's also why I like to be precise. Then, the more precise I am, the more clear I have to think. The more things happening. It's easy for me to make decisions then. To find, we all know that. We have to write a piece for cello. Get in a commission. Like, where do you start? It's just, I don't know. It's okay, we have the cello, but to write a piece for cello, it's like a black hole. And you start with nothing, and then you start maybe think first in which direction. So what I always like is in the artistic work process, you start from nothing and suddenly something appears. And then I can throw away easy. So I have an idea. I work maybe 2 years on 2 weeks on an idea, and at the end I say, and I throw it away and start again. So for me, it's like a playground. So it's nothing is really fixed. So I can throw away and start again. And then the second time,